So in terms of military capabilities, the score came in at 95% of all available points for the F-35 built by the American firm Lockheed Martin. By contrast, the Gripen built by Sweden's Saab only got 33% of the total score for military capabilities.
It's a very potent aircraft as well. It's different than the F-35. JAS Gripen is not a fifth-generation aircraft, so that's the biggest difference.
The Arctic is not forgiving, and NATO's air defense up there depends on fighter jets launching fast in brutal weather. So here's the question. What happens if the alliance's most advanced jet struggles to stay mission-capable, while Sweden's Gripen can turn around in minutes? A US watchdog put the F-35 fleet at about 55% mission-capable in March 2023. And the surprising part is where Sweden is sending its jets, because it's not just about Russia anymore. The main development, Sweden is now contributing JAS 39 Gripen fighters to NATO's newly established Operation Arctic Sentry. Sweden's government says the goal is to support security in the Arctic and the High North, and it frames the move as Sweden taking responsibility as a NATO ally. Government of Sweden. Sweden also says its initial contribution will focus on the area around Iceland and Greenland, a key corridor for air and sea routes, and a place where NATO runs air policing from bases like Keflavik. But once you look at why Gripen makes sense for that region, the story starts to tilt away from headlines and toward logistics, readiness, and political signaling. Reuters reports that Sweden sent 6 Gripen jets to Keflavik, Iceland, and that Swedish fighters were patrolling the skies around Iceland for the first time as part of NATO's Arctic Sentry mission. In the same reporting, NATO officials described the Arctic as a kind of warning chain for attacks across the far north, meaning air activity there is not symbolic, it's tied to early warning, tracking, and deterrence. Reuters also highlights why Sweden's aircraft is being emphasized. Gripen is described as having a low logistical footprint, and it can be refueled and rearmed quickly, a core requirement in cold, windy locations where aircraft availability can change fast. Now, compare that to the readiness debate around the F-35. A GAO report says the F-35 fleet mission-capable rate was about 55% in March 2023, far below the stated objectives, 90% for the F-35A and 85% for the F-35B and F-35C. And here's where the F-35 frozen. Question becomes political. In the Arctic, speed and uptime can matter as much as advanced tech. To understand why Sweden's move hits differently, you have to look at how quickly Northern Europe's security map changed. Sweden officially became NATO's 32nd member on 7 March 2024, when it deposited its instrument of accession in Washington, D.C. NATO leadership described Sweden's membership as adding capable armed forces and a strong defense industry, and emphasized that Sweden now sits at NATO's table with an equal say in alliance decisions. Before Arctic Sentry, Northern air defense was often discussed through rotations, national quick reaction alert missions, and periodic air policing, important, but sometimes treated as separate activities. Sweden's government now says Arctic Sentry is meant to bring together ongoing and future NATO activities in the region, tying the High North into a clearer operational framework. Government of Sweden. But the most important background detail isn't a treaty, it's a design philosophy, which aircraft can operate from fewer resources when the weather and distance do the most damage. The first impact is military, but it quickly becomes political. In Arctic air defense, the deterrence message is simple. Can you launch quickly and repeatedly? If a country can keep more aircraft available, it can respond faster, rotate crews, and sustain presence over long distances, especially when conditions are rough. That's why Reuters focuses on Gripen's small footprint and fast turnaround language. It speaks directly to readiness under stress. The second impact is alliance credibility. Sweden's government frames its participation as proof it is a loyal and active ally contributing to security across NATO territory, not just Sweden's own airspace. That matters because new members are judged not only by what they promise, but by what they can deploy. The third impact is budget and procurement pressure. Readiness figures like mission-capable rate become headline weapons in political debates. GAO's numbers, 55% mission-capable in March 2023 versus goals of 85, 90%, don't decide who wins a war, but they do shape public trust and funding fights about sustainment and maintenance systems. Finally, Gripen's dispersed operations pitch creates a real comparison point. Saab says Gripen E can use a 16-meter wide, 500-meter road strip to take off and 600 meters to land, and was built around minimal turnaround time. That is a different concept of how to survive and keep flying if fixed bases are threatened. But the data leads to an even more unexpected tension, because this story is also aimed at audiences inside NATO, not just outside it. Here's the twist. Reuters frames Arctic Sentry as a message not only to Moscow, but also to US leadership, describing a push to show Washington that allies are serious about protecting the Arctic region. In the same reporting, analysts warn that the build-up can trigger an action-reaction cycle, raising the risk of incidents and escalation. So now the question becomes, is Arctic Sentry about defense, or about managing alliance politics under pressure? Zooming out, Arctic Sentry forces a practical debate inside NATO. What kind of air power is most credible in extreme environments? There's the stealth-first argument, high-end aircraft with advanced sensors and survivability. And there's the sortie-rate argument, aircraft that can disperse, launch from shorter strips, and stay mission-ready with fewer specialized tools. Saab's claims about road strip operations and minimal turnaround time are designed to speak directly to that second model. The second layer is political. Readiness numbers are easy to communicate. Gao's report puts the F-35 mission-capable rate at about 55% in March 2023, compared to objectives of 85–90% depending on variant. That gap becomes leverage in legislative hearings, defense budgets, and public messaging, especially when allies want to show measurable progress. The third layer is the Arctic itself. The region is a supply chain and maintenance test. Sweden's government explicitly says the Arctic is becoming more strategically important and that Arctic Sentry is about strengthening deterrence and situational awareness. In plain terms, it is about being able to operate far from the easiest bases, for longer periods with fewer surprises. And what happens next depends on whether Arctic Sentry becomes a permanent posture or a temporary signal. Sweden joining NATO on 7 March 2024 reshaped the alliance's northern map, and Sweden's role in Arctic Sentry adds a new operational layer to that shift. NATO, the immediate story, is 6 Gripens in Iceland and a new NATO operation aimed at the High North. Reuters, the bigger story, is a quiet debate about what wins in harsh conditions, top-end tech, or reliable availability. And that leaves one calm question. Will NATO lean into Gripen-style agility, or try to build the same flexibility into its higher-end fleets?